I have just landed in Honolulu, Hawaii. The minute you step off the 6-hour flight from the mainland, the air is thick and smells like the aloha spirit. There's a waft of Mai Tais and sunscreen all the way from Waikiki. Everyone drives a little slower, the general niceness of people increases, and the atmosphere seems a bit more relaxed. My guest today is Justen Chilcoat. And I'm not sure he got the memo about relaxing when you live on an island, because Justen is the general manager of not one, but 2 Lithia dealerships on the island of Oahu, Honolulu Buick GMC Cadillac and Honolulu Acura. He grew up in Oklahoma, but fell in love with Hawaii. Justen's married, and he and his wife have 4 beautiful children. He likes adventure. He likes to surf, he likes to fish, but he loves to travel all over the world with his family. What's cool about Justen is he is a car guy. He's been buying and selling cars on forums and Craigslist since he was like 16. I'm gonna meet him and we're gonna take a rip in a new Caddy. Hey there, Justen. It's Peter.
Hey, great to hear from you, man. How are things?
I'm great. I just touched down in Hawaii.
What? You're on island time? Aloha.
Thanks, man. I just wanted to stop by the store, talk a little shop, and get a cup of that dank Hawaiian coffee. What do you think?
Man, I had a super early surf session this morning. I've been working like a madman ever since. That sounds like a great idea.
Say no more. I'll be over in just a little bit. See you soon, buddy. I'm Peter Duffy, and this is Dealers in Cars Getting Coffee. This is the 2023 Escalade ESV V in Raven Black with jet black interior. And although the Cadillac V has been around for almost a decade or 2, this is the first year Cadillac ever placed the letter V on an Escalade. The first was the CTS-V, which was a badass little sports sedan that Cadillac sent after the German Autosteller and the gangs of M's and AMGs in the early 2000s. The interior is gorgeous, well appointed, and as spacious as your grandma's Florida condo. And for, dare I say, an American-made vehicle, the materials appear to be of superior quality. It has a total of 38 inches of screen throughout the cabin, a 36-speaker surround sound system, heated everything, conversation enhancement, whatever that means, power steps, night vision, and rolls on 22s. But here's the deal, this ain't your grandpa's Caddy. Because this super SUV weighs a whopping 6,200 pounds and takes miles per gallon to a whole new meeting at an average of 13 miles per gallon. But if you can afford this $158,000 beast, you probably give 0 fucks about the cost or your carbon footprint. Mortimer, pull around the Escalade. Let's adopt a highway. Nothing says America like a 6.2-liter supercharged V8 pushing 682 ponies, making it the most powerful Cadillac of all time. For its size, it's quite light on its feet. With 658 pound-feet of torque, this absolute unit of a vehicle flings from 0 to 60 in just 4.4 seconds. That's as fast as many sports sedans on the market. Think like the size of Shaquille O'Neal, but with moves like Mick Jagger. On a cold start, in a full push of the pedal, this Caddy roars like a grumpy lion that just got woken up from a long nap. Because this rolling living room looks like a rounded out Lego block on wheels, the exterior features leave something to be desired. But one of my favorite design details are the top to bottom rear lights that make it look like a spaceship when it drives by at night. It appears General Motors is a bit climate conflicted because it still makes V8s and EVs. But my best guess is GM is trying to go out with a bang, and these big gas-guzzling V8s are gonna go the way of the dinosaur. Cadillac is still a symbol of American class, and this giant Escalade is the pinnacle of performance from GM SUVs. Justen, what's up?
Pete, good to see you. Thanks for
Good to see
coming.
you, man. You wanna take a little walk?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go. So you grew up in Oklahoma. Walk me through the period of time where you get your fuel pump fixed at a dealership all the way to the point you become a GM in Honolulu.
I was going to school at the University of Oklahoma and driving my parents' car one weekend, and it just died in the driveway. So I had it towed, and I rode with the tow truck driver to the dealership. Shout out Mark Heights.
Yeah.
Awesome place to start. Yeah, and so I started in sales there. And from that point, I think within a year and a half, I went to finance. From there, I always had a passion for used cars. So that's kind of what started it.
Right, you did that as a kid.
Yeah, and so new car manager, used car manager, natural progression to just general sales manager. So
now this is back in Oklahoma.
All this is Oklahoma, basically 2 groups.
How do you get here then?
So my wife and I decided that we should do something different. Let's move out of middle America. Let's move out of the South. And Hawaii was a pipe dream. Like I didn't even know they sold cars out here really.
Yeah, right.
So I Google it and no kidding, like GM of Cadillac Honolulu pops up and it was posted like 2 days ago.
Okay.
And so I take a screenshot.
A little fate there, right?
Yeah, I sent it to my wife and I'm like, hey, do you want me to apply for this? Like this, we could really do that. Like this is right in my wheelhouse. And so she's kind of laughs it off like, yeah, do whatever. So went from 6 weeks of never visiting, never coming to Hawaii before, job interview, flew us out to
everything up. Yeah. Kids, everything, the whole show.
Check out the dealership. We decided we want to do it. And I'm moving out here in 6 weeks.
Wow. So you've been here 8 years now. What do you think your biggest accomplishment is, here at the store?
I think my biggest accomplishment is changing the culture.
Okay.
And I know that sounds really weird, like it's very intangible, but it's kind of like the background of any kind of sports team. You bring in the good coach, they bring in a good culture. It was a brand that wasn't really recognized. We had guys with a history of losing or not, making profit. Over time, changed that and brought a winning culture, brought brand awareness where it's something that everybody wants to be a part of now.
So say I'm working at a dealership right now, whether that's sales or F&I, or what do I need to do to rise to the level of a general manager?
So I think in the car business, we have a really bad habit of promoting to incompetency. We promote somebody because they're good at sales and we promote them to the highest level until they fail. And then we either blow the guy out or we say like, hey, this guy can't cut it. He's got to go. So I think the short answer to that is you got to be good at people and good at managing, but it's other skill sets outside of selling cars or being a good finance manager. You have to be organized, you have to have good paperwork, but I think it's the skill set and the people. And you have to realize that every person is different. Every person responds to different motivations, different incentives. And I think mastering that is crucial to become higher in management. And then for me as a general manager, always coming from the sales side, I had to learn the fixed ops. That's a whole different beast and a whole different set of personalities.
48% of your revenue, right? It's at least 50%, right? Yeah. So traditionally, the advertising aspect of it, it was big balloons out front. It was radio ads, right? Which, the radio is still around, but what do you do for advertising? Like, what's your angle? So
we're in a unique environment with Hawaii. Everything's so visually stimulating, and we have so many good creators and filmers that everything has to be at such a high level. Now, social is a big presence. I probably spend more on that, but I also have 3 or 4 brand advocates who are awesome. Some of them have million subscribers on YouTube and.
Okay, so influencers.
Yeah.
Okay. In Honolulu or in Oahu?
Yeah, on Oahu.
Okay.
And it is tough because, they have global presence, but, attracting their buyers. But I really try to do that authentically. I don't think you can pay for an ad anymore, and definitely cars are like the Kylie Jenner, like, oh, I post lipstick and I'm sold out.
Right. Yeah.
So it's got to be long-term. It's got to be authentic. And we really do. We build relationships with them and then they love the product.
You want to go grab a cup of coffee?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So I know you're really passionate about this. EVs. Tell me all about it. What's working? What's not working for the dealership? Like, where do you see it in the future?
So Hawaii has been identified as a key EV market by our manufacturers. And it's great. I think it's good for some, but I have a theory on EVs. And EVs are kind of like the kid in high school. It's like the cool kid. He's got the leather jacket. He smokes Marlboro Reds. And you're like, yeah, I want to be like him. And then, a couple months later, he's expelled and doesn't finish school. And you're like, oh, wow, maybe I shouldn't have been like him. Maybe that's not the right route for me.
Yeah, but sometimes those kids that get all the bad grades end up being pretty successful later on. Right? No, they think outside the box. So,
totally. I don't mean it in that way. I just mean you're doing what works. Cadillac, GM, you have a 100-year history in internal combustion engines.
Right.
And you want to flip overnight and say, hey, we're a leader in the EV space, when maybe that you haven't even produced one yet. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I just think it's funny, but I think it's a fad. There's a home for them somewhere, and they will help. I think we've been kind of fed a little bit. I don't think it's as clean or carbon neutral as they want you to believe, when you factor in like the batteries and the mining of minerals and the production.
Sure.
I think we'll see that down the line, but and if you just look at reference a great brand like Toyota, they didn't really jump on it, and they're still on their hybrid kick, and they're looking at efficiency, and we can build smaller batteries and make them last longer. And this is what we've been doing since, the Prius.
Everyone kind of joked about those when they came out, but I think they've sold millions and millions of them, and they've made a pretty good dent, I think, in carbon emissions and things like that overall. Like incredible gas mileage, right?
Yeah,
compared to this thing, that's for sure. I think you can power like 5 Priuses with this Escalade.
Yeah.
What do you have for any advice for other full-time demanding job fathers like yourself? How do you balance that?
Well, that's a tricky one, right? Like unsolicited parental advice.
Yeah.
I think just spend as much time and be present when you're there. It's really hard to shut off our industry sometimes. And when I'm there, I try to let everything go. I mean, it's impossible. Sometimes it carries over. You had a terrible day and you're just frustrated or short with them. But I think that's the most important thing. You just try to shut it off. And regardless of how many cars you sold or didn't sell or what happened, you just got to leave it the same way you leave your problems at the door before you go into work. I think you leave all that stuff at the office and just be present with the kids.
What kind of unique circumstances do you feel like you have here running dealerships on an island as opposed to what you experienced in Oklahoma or you watched other people experience in the mainland?
I think there's a definite advantage as far as island time. We run on our own, California, hectic market, long hours, on the grind. You can be there till midnight, no problem, because people in finance, it's a little bit different. I mean, we're just kind of a sleepy island, once it gets dark, not many people are going out. So shorter hours, but it's more relaxed. I think I do have more of a work-life balance in the car business than a lot of people.
What logistics are more difficult to do here than it would be on the mainland?
Yeah, reconditioning a vehicle is like the hardest one.
Really?
Yeah. So there's, if you want to just order a set of wheels, like a lot of times, you trade for a car and you're like, oh, this would look great with black wheels.
Yeah.
Good luck. And everything's so expensive, right? We're on an island, so it costs more to have the real estate, to open the business, to run the business, to pay employees. And so you had to adjust your reconditioning costs a little bit. Like, oh yeah, I can get a windshield done for a couple $100. You're like, no, it's $1,000. So
here.
Yeah.
Because it's all got to get shipped in.
Shipped in, yeah.
Nobody makes it.
Half of them break when they come in, so yeah.
Damn. So what do you think your reconditioning costs are percentage-wise from here to California? Like if it's $1,000 in California, round number.
Yeah, I'd say 30% higher. If you're gonna spend $2,000 on a car, it's probably easily $2,600. If I didn't do that math right, cut that out. No.
What's the most challenging part of being a general manager, you think?
Keeping your team at the top. Once you have it there and you have the formula, and for my store, I think it's a little different. I always say that we have a fragile ecosystem. 3 cars a day, we're gonna make money, we're gonna be okay. 4 cars a day, we're heroes.
Right.
So it's that small and it's that fragile of a system. So we have to be firing on all cylinders every day, every month of the year.
Okay.
And I think staying at that level and keeping people motivated and, not pushing burnout and, it's just a balancing act.
We see that a lot. Like the biggest challenge is usually people. But I feel like you get from people what you put into them. Our people are, at least at our company, they're our most important asset. And we want to make sure that, like we shared a little bit off camera, we sent everyone to leadership school, or if it was sales, we sent them to sales school, which leads me to another question. So when you become a general manager for, say, Lithia, do they have their own internal general manager school thing that they do with you guys or no?
Yeah, so we have a really cool program called the AMP program, and that's for prospective GSMs or store leaders who want to go to the next level and be GMs. Mm-hmm. And so you spend the week at Medford at the corporate office.
Up in Oregon, yeah.
Yeah, and you just really get to meet everyone and see what Lithia is all about. And it was really cool for me because you think like, oh, this, Fortune 500 company that's going to be in a big glass office like New York style.
Yeah.
But then it's this like
It's a pretty good sized building, but it's not
No, but it's not
a high rise.
right. It's not big corporate, you know,
$15
like
billion, which you picture as a $15 billion company.
right. And you're seeing Brian, fantastic leader, but you go up and he's like, oh yeah, Justin, great opportunity in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And he's in a polo and jeans, and you're like, whoa, this guy's like approachable family guy versus like what you think of like a stuffy CEO or executive.
What is some of the advice to future and current professionals that want to move up through the ranks?
So there's always opportunity. And one of the Lithia's mottos, growth powered by people. The only thing that allows them to expand is better people.
Right.
So if they want more stores and they want a bigger footprint, better people. But I think you just do that by taking ownership. I mean, it's very important, like whatever position that you're doing, you own it like it's your own personal business. And if you can solve big problems, your paycheck's related to how big of the problems that you can solve. And so if that's customer problems, if it's dealership problems, you know, they all go hand in hand. And so there's a lot of this stuff, you have to be fluid. And I think that's one of the things I loved about coming here is figuring out a new environment, a new culture, a new dealership, you know, put all the pieces together and see how that puzzle fits. And it's different from any location. You can go, you know, even a dealership across town, and it's a different dynamic, and what drives that store is different from what drives the one right next door.
Dealerships are so alike in so many ways, and then they're so different in other ways, right?
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Building something or building a company or making an organization like a business and building it on meritocracy is the best way, right? If you're taking more on, and I can see you're taking more on, and not only are you taking more on, but you're nailing it, chances are, whatever preconceived notion I have about a certain thing or a certain process, I'm going to weigh in on what you're looking at too, because you're telling me just by your actions that you're researching and doing and making things happen on your own. Chances are you might be smarter than me, so I want to know what you're doing, right?
Yeah. Well, I tell all my managers that, like, if I have to micromanage, I have the wrong people in place. I mean, I don't want to micromanage. Now I'm going to give you guidance and we're going to learn from it, but I want you to evaluate it, use your best judgment, and make a decision.
So you said you wake up at 4:30 and take an ice bath.
Yeah.
And you said your kids are into that right now. How do you do that again?
Yeah, so that's kind of my morning routine. We've got an ice bath just right on the back patio, and just jump in. I think it's mental. I mean, there's definitely physical attributes, and you can read all about it, but
Right.
I think it's just the mental of like conquering that, because it's not even that bad. Like, I've never jumped in and had to jump out, but your mind every day tells you, like, my mind will make up 1,000 excuses. Oh, you're too late. Oh, you don't have to do it this morning. Oh, it's going to be cold. Hey, you can do it after work. I mean, it's just amazing how many excuses you can come up with.
Sure, it's the same thing with the gym, right? Like, I don't like to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck wants to stand around and lift a bunch of weights? But I force myself into it, and I always feel better.
Yeah.
After that 1 hour,
always
or
better.
hour 20.
Yeah. So I've started doing it before the gym. Yeah. Then it's off to the dealership. Come back just in time to make sure all the kids are up and ready for school and lunches are packed, and then drive into the store. You're home all the time. So how do you separate that, like, home from work? You said work's your lifestyle, but do you feel like there's a separation sometimes, or do you feel like you're always in it?
When one of my kids asks me something, I try to completely turn around from my chair and give them my full focus. Unless I'm, again, typing something, I'm guilty of it. I'm not a perfect parent. But they also know Dad isn't working. It's what you said earlier. Like, I want to move forward with my life and my career and everything that I do as a parent, as a business owner, as a CEO, as whatever. And I'm doing that all the time. I think they're just used to it as well. But there is the balance of things. I definitely have to unplug and divert my full attention to my wife, because, you know, she's my wife and I love her. But she also is tremendous. I have an amazing wife. And she's tremendously respectful of my space, and also realizes that this is what makes me happy. And so she also understands, and I do too, is that I can't always win. Yeah, it just depends on the day. But of course I try to balance it.
Yeah.
Like everybody else.
Well, you gotta have a supportive wife. I mean, that's
Huge.
I couldn't do what I do without her, and and she's very supportive, not even understanding, like a next level of understanding, but like if I'm late or I have stuff to do, she's like, hey, good job. I'm glad you're selling cars. I'm glad it's working. Like, I'm glad you have to be there late.
You do you, babe.
Right. And she's awesome with the kids, the house. house, everything. She does just a great job. But yeah, just that support. But at the same time, we still have our whatever time that we spend together, and you have to work on that and nurture it just like anything else. Like that's an improvement point too. Like, oh, okay, I have to be more attentive, or I have to do this right, or...
I think if your wife is ignoring you to the point where you feel like something's coming in between you, that's a red flag immediately.
Yeah.
You are doing too much of one thing and not spending time with them. And she'll tell me, like, we tell each other if we look fat.
Yeah.
Like, we don't, you know, people go, oh, don't tell your wife she has a big ass or whatever. Like, dude, we don't need to do that. We say it in a nice way. She'll go, hey, Duffy, you're looking a little Christmassy. and right? And I say, well, like Santa Claus, she goes, yeah, get to the, you know, you skip the gym a couple weeks there. You've been eating cookies or whatever it is you're doing. Like, get going. And so we hold each other accountable.
Where's your wife from, or what?
She's Mexican, like proper Mex, right? So she was born in Mexico, moved here when she was 14. Really, really smart and sharp, beautiful.
Like fluent Spanish? Or?
Oh, definitely. English is her second language. But we know, well, if you just said to your wife, hey, you're looking fat, go to the gym, that wouldn't be very fun. And you probably would be insulting them. But if you make it into kind of like a rib,
yeah.
You know, I would listen to my wife if she told me that, and I said, damn, I gotta go to the gym.
It's important, you know, because you just get in that.
I want to look good for her.
Fully.
And she wants to look good for me.
And you're not doing it intentionally, like getting out of shape or whatever. It just happens. You just get busy or do whatever. So it's nice.
Or over the holidays, you skip the gym for a couple weeks, you eat a bunch of, you know, cakes and rich foods and stuff, and you gotta get back at it. What is the most bizarre or crazy story that you have working in automotive?
This guy comes in, he's got a bank check and he wants to buy an Escalade.
Okay.
And so goes through the process. It's a pretty normal deal in the very beginning. And then he comes up, and I can't remember, there was something that tipped us off. Maybe the check looked a little bit off or was misaligned. But as soon as we took the check, he started talking to the salesperson about wanting 4 more Escalades. And of course, the salesman's ecstatic. You know, he's thinking like, I'm gonna sell 5 Escalades. Hey, can we get them gassed up? How quick? Can you come get them? And he's trying to work out all the logistics. And we're like, oh, pump the brakes a little bit. But let's see. We get him back to the finance office, and as our finance guy's taking him in, he calls us and he's like, hey, check this address. It's a little weird. And turns out it's a kind of a rundown place. So we're thinking, how's this guy have a bank check for this? And, you know, the Escalades would be worth more than his house.
Sure.
And so we start doing some investigation, and we find stuff, and we call city and county police department.
Sure.
And they tell us, yeah, that guy has a warrant. And so don't let him leave. We'll be right there.
Right.
So the guy gets arrested in our finance department.
Holy shit.
And as he's getting out of the store, going into the cop car, he smiles and says, thanks, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.
Like total delusional.
Total delusional. Thinks it's fine. Like he's getting the 5 Escalades.
Wild.
Yes, and that's the craziest one. I think just because the whole chain of events turned into like maybe one deal, and maybe that saved us from delivering an Escalade with a bad check. I don't know.
No kidding, right? My dude, appreciate you.
Thank
you so much.
Appreciate you.